Welcome to Incredible Idaho. I'm Wayne Walker. Tonight we begin our show by traveling in some ancient footsteps. Falconry is thought to have originated in ancient Persia, the cradle of civilization some 4,000 years ago. Now, through the centuries, little has changed, and today it remains a demanding discipline. It's been called the sport of kings, a phrase that stems from the European Middle Ages when only royalty could grant the privilege to hunt game. Today, you needn't be a prince to fly a bird, but some restrictions still remain.
Birds used in falconry where you have to get them at a flying weight, kind of like a pro athlete or a prize fighter. They need to be max muscle and minimum fat for the best performance. And
Darrell Barnes is a master falconer. This means he's gone through the steps of apprenticeship and general class falconer to earn the title master.
Okay, 877. Perfect.
His bird is a cross between a prairie falcon, a gyr falcon, and a native breed of Africa called a lanner. As a result of her colorful lineage, she's affectionately nicknamed Mutant. During the hunting season, which in Idaho extends from August through March, Darrell and Mutant can be found 4 out of 7 days a week searching the desert for game.
I saw one drake mallard in there. There might be another, but you didn't see anything get up. No? Okay.
Along with federal and state regulations governing the keeping of birds of prey, falconers, like any other hunter, must buy hunting licenses and tags.
Yeah, she'll stay up for a little while, but I'll put her in the air.
The ancient falconers relied on the sound of the bells to alert them to the whereabouts of their birds. But the modern-day edition of radio transmitters allows today's falconers to find birds that range further afield. The hood is as old as the sport itself. The design has become an art form, intricately stitched and fitted. And when it's removed, the true majesty of this beautiful bird is revealed. She looks about, taking in her surroundings, and then gracefully spreads her wings. In a moment, she's gone. And then, as Sherlock Holmes would say, the game's afoot.
what she's doing now is called ringing up. So she's circling and climbing, gaining altitude in anticipation for the flush. She knows what's coming next, and she's just getting up there, realizing that the higher she is, the better the chances that she'll be able to catch the duck.
It's the responsibility of the more earthbound members of the team to flush the quarry. The falcon drops to the earth so fast, it's almost impossible to track her with our camera. There's a flurry of feathers, and it's over. Now, if you missed that one, here's home videos of other kills. A falcon can dive at speeds up to 150 miles an hour. Factor in that this bird typically begins that dive at about 1,000 feet. It's the opportunity to witness an amazing performance involving extraordinary aeronautical skill and precision timing.
Hey kid, what you got there? You got a mallard that's just going nuts.
The falcon is furiously plucking a hen mallard. For her, the game is about the kill and an inbred instinct to hunt for survival. For Darrell, it's the fascinating thrill of seeing one of nature's most beautifully designed predators perform.
Falconry is kind of like my religion. It's where I have where I find my spirituality. I'm agnostic, but when I come out here and I hawk, it's just me and the hawk and the game and the dog usually and the land, and it's transcending. You know, it just gives you a great feeling of fulfillment when everything goes right, because I'm kind of out here directing the game. It's really special. I mean, not everybody can do it. Even falconers are not don't have the same opportunities that we do here in the West.
These days, the most exciting place in the world to be a falconer is in our own American West. The availability of public lands and plentiful game has drawn the pioneers of modern-day falconry here to fly their birds and push the limits of performance.
And I just feel really grateful to be able to do it. And it's a humbling kind of experience, everything. For this flight this afternoon and every day, it's kind of humbling to watch. And I consider it my religion. This is the temple.
There's no way that you can create what you want to create by sleight of hand or by trick. You end up spending a tremendous amount of time.
Our next story is about wildlife artist Dave Alexander, who shares the same awe and admiration for our birds of prey as falconers experience. In fact, he wishes he had more time in his life because he'd like to be a falconer himself. Instead, he pours this passion into his art, and the results are striking. At first glance, it appears that the pieces arranged around the room are mounts, animals taken in the wild and rendered lifelike by a taxidermist. A closer look reveals an artistry so delicate and precise that the viewer is astonished to discover that these are actually wood carvings.
The people who buy these pieces don't buy them just because they catch their eye. Most of them really have a deep love of a certain species of bird, and they know quite a lot about them. So one of the things that you want to do is create a piece of art that is also technically correct. And part of it is in the gesture of the bird, some of it is in the fineness of the carving, and some of it's in the realism of the painting. And getting it in the right habitat, in the right pose, all comes together into a successful piece.
Okay, let's go out. Let's go out, huh? Here, Jake. Heel.
The artist himself is a blend of witty intelligence and self-deprecating humor. Somehow it comes as no surprise to discover that Dave is a forester by trade. When he unfolds his towering 6.5-foot frame, you see a bit of a resemblance to the legendary lumberjack Paul Bunyan.
Good dog.
Dave says in his artistry, he can express his perfectionism, something not always feasible in his demanding job as supervisor of the Payette National Forest near McCall.
One of the reasons I'm a forester is because I love the outdoors. I love to hunt and fish, and I've been an active bird hunter and birder most of my life, and I just love birds enough that I decided to do a few of these for my own benefit. First bird I ever carved was a decoy for my own mantle, and I looked at it and I thought I could do quite a bit better if I'd just do another.
And as they say, the rest is history. 15 years of experience and Dave's sense of perfectionism shows in the orderly arrangement of his studio and workshop. He begins his projects at this table by studying photographs and then sketching birds in different poses and habitats. Then he creates a rough model out of clay.
So as I work on the ideas and try and get the composition the way I want it, and I work with the models, ultimately I kind of firm up an idea of what I want to try and create.
Dave's current project is a kestrel perched on a granite rock, looking over its shoulder. Not only is the bird painstakingly carved out of wood, but so is the rock.
This drawing evolved into this carving. As you can see, this is basically a wooden rock. I've carved it and textured it and painted it, and I've carved the feet for the falcon as a part of this rock.
He does that for strength, but it also allows Dave to be more creative with his poses. Now notice how one toe overlaps the other. This is a very common stance in birds of prey and lends a lifelike appearance to the carving.
The feet on birds of prey are very expressive. Every bird has, every species has a different foot. So one of the things you have to look at is not just the feathers and the look in the eyes and getting the intensity, but you got to get the feet right.
Clearly, for this artist, accuracy is paramount. Once Dave has decided on the bird, pose, and habitat, the sketches and clay models evolve into patterns like this. These are traced onto a block of wood, and the process begins.
The best carving I've ever done is going to be the next one. And I become very impatient with work that I did just a year ago. I think I develop with every carving, and I think every artist changes with every piece of work that they do.
Even in the roughed out block of wood, there's a hint of the bird to come. The next step is to soften the edges. Dave says that this is one of the less time-consuming processes, only a matter of a few hours.
When I'm really engrossed in a piece of work, I can't wait. And I find myself working evenings and weekends. But that varies. During hunting season, I carve less. Elk season is a limited time, and I set aside the carving for that. The same thing for waterfowl hunting.
Dave uses a rough-cut hen pintail to demonstrate how he carves the feather detail. He begins by drawing them in. Each bird species has a different feather pattern. For example, by studying books and mounts, Dave knows that a hen pintail has 13 feathers along this side pocket.
Then I use a fast electric motor, and I use stones that are impregnated with rubies or diamonds. Now for the rough work, I'll use rubies, and I basically redraw every one of the feathers.
After blending the edges, Dave begins to highlight the shaft of each feather. He uses an instrument called a burning pin to sear away the wood on both sides of the feather shaft.
And in trying to create the softness on the birds, I learned that there's a lot to the softness. You have to texture the wood just right. You carve every barb of every feather and every shaft on the feather. There are no shortcuts. There's no way that you can create what you want to create by sleight of hand or by trick. You end up spending a tremendous amount of time, so you really have to love doing it. Well, the last step in really finishing off a feather is to actually go back over everything that I just did with the stone with a real finely sharpened burner.
A fellow artist pointed out that carvers spend endless hours in an effort to create a canvas for painting, and Dave admits that in some respects that's true. Despite the slow, exacting steps involved in carving the birds, an even more significant amount of time is invested in painting the piece.
I probably spend as much time painting on a bird as I do in the planning and the carving. Painting is a very exacting process.
Dave estimates he's already invested about 20 hours just painting the kestrel's back and tail.
The highlights and the shadows, and that's part of creating the softness. It's not just putting color on, it's getting a texture on the bird and creating highlights and shadows that makes it look soft.
Each creation is a new challenge, hours and hours devoted to capturing a moment of nature frozen in time. After years of experience carving several species of birds, what does the artist still find the most enjoyable part of the process?
I think the learning experience, to me. Researching a given bird, really looking into it, learning about it, and then conceptually trying to find a really nice composition that reflects not only the bird but its habitat, and to bring all of that together so that someone who really knows that bird, when they look at it, says, that's just right. That's really kind of nice.
You just waxed that. Why don't you put some stuff on it, too? Put some dubbing on it, Bonnie. Remember, very lightly.
In the Idaho of 100 years ago, women would gather their needles and thread and meet at someone's home on a cold winter night for a quilting bee. Now, the evening centered around sewing, but no doubt they also involved plenty of storytelling, perhaps an exchange of ideas and sudden spontaneous bursts of laughter. In our next story, meet today's equivalent of the old-fashioned quilting club.
Come on, Bonnie. Did you bring a vise? Yeah, I brought. Good. Set up. We're just dubbing. That's all we're doing is dubbing.
The quilt rack has been replaced by a vise, but the craftsmanship still involves plenty of thread and a delicate touch.
Now, don't do it that way. Do it like this. See, take your stuff and sort of stretch it out like that, pull it apart, and then lay it lengthwise just down the thread, see? And then
And then roll it on
Roll it.
Okay.
Several evenings each month, a group of women gather at the Ultimate Angler to tie flies, talk fishing, and enjoy the companionship of other anglers. Some of the women have just begun to fly fish, enthusiastic beginners who are immersing themselves in every aspect of the sport.
Oh, I love to fish, and I'm just beginning to fly fish, and I just really enjoy it. I think it would be a tremendous thrill to catch a fish on a fly that you've tied yourself.
Tie it off and do another.
More experienced anglers like Jay Robertson and Sally Trott are the mentors of the group, teaching the basics of fly tying and reminiscing about their experiences as pioneers in the traditionally male enclave of outdoor sports.
Wind it back.
I can remember the first 25 years or so that I fly fished. I was almost always the only female anywhere on a river or stream. In those days, they didn't make any equipment, manufacture any equipment or attire for women. And I had these red ball waders that were 4 sizes too big, and I had boots that were 2 sizes too big, and I looked like Bozo the Clown. And I would go on to a river stream, and the men would look at me and say, "What's she doing here?"
But times have changed. Today, women are taking up outdoor sports in record numbers, and much of the interest is generated by participation in groups like this. Over the last 2 years, through casting clinics, seminars, and organized fishing trips, the Ultimate Angler has introduced over 500 women in Idaho to the sport of fly fishing.
I want you to learn how to wrap it and to taper it. I can't see very much what I'm doing.
The old-fashioned quilting bee atmosphere prevails. A product is being produced, but sometimes that seems secondary to the sense of fun and companionship that livens up this cold winter night.
And it's fun, and it's really easy and very difficult at the same time.
Oh, just having a good time. Just all the laughter and fun and giggling and making flies.
Food is passed around, stories are traded, and advice is readily offered. But beware, no one is safe from rowdy remarks and a bit of ribbing.
Debbie, you can stop doing that now.
Oh, I did. Is it thick enough now?
It's very thick.
Oh, okay. Yay!
Tie it off,
I've
Debbie.
got a thorax.
Yeah, you sure do.
All right, finally. Okay.
Just tie it off, and we'll put on a new hook and start all over again.
Oh, you're kidding. It's that bad.
No, it just has no similarity to what we're trying. Well, look at the picture. Does it look like that?
How long are these lessons? So I shouldn't use my own flies yet.
No, wait a minute. You just waxed that. Why don't you put some stuff on it, too? Put some dubbing on it, Bonnie. Remember, very lightly. No, too much. You're just being very impetuous here. Just take it easy.
Jay Robertson has been tying her own flies for years and testing them on Idaho's premier trout streams.
Just trial and error, trial and error. It's just a baby. You know, you tie something, if it doesn't look good, then tie another one, and until you get something that looks right. And as you continue to tie, you continue to learn. But then that's what fishing is. I mean, you never get over, you never learn, you know, nothing is ever perfect. You get the perfect cast one time and, you know, the perfect take, but it isn't a repetitive thing. It's always a challenge.
Challenging, peaceful, rejuvenating. These are the words you'll hear from people who love fly fishing. It's only natural to want to pass on the legacy to others.
Yeah, well, you know, people have helped me a whole lot as I've come along. She's got a nice and I figured this was just a wonderful way to sort of pay it back.
For me, it's the beauty, the peace,
Tie it off there.
the wildlife, the sound of running water. I prefer river and stream fishing. And it's just a joy for me, and it's a joy to share it with other people. And I've really enjoyed this women's program. Because for a long time I would go fishing with 5 or 6 or 7 or 15 men, and now I can go fishing with other women.
Yes,
It's great.
yes, you did it.
Yay!
Thanks for being with us. We'll close our show tonight with a look at winter in the Wood River Valley.